Frank Martin breaks his silence after a brutal knockout to Gervonta Tank Davis. Listen, shout out to Frank the Ghost Martin. And I gotta give you guys the ego thoughts in a quick preamble. I've been meaning to make this video for quite some time. And I've been busy banging out content, giving you guys that fire content in the world of boxing. Best in the business, and it's not even close. And I just had a feeling that this was gonna fall by the wayside. So despite being busy with other content, I put that to the side to talk about Frank Martin. And I know some of you guys are wondering what this is about. Me on my channel, I like to give credit where credit is due. And I know you guys just missed it. I've been showing you what I was referring to on the screen. Frank Martin just lost to Gervonta Davis. Immediately after losing to Gervonta Davis, he did this. You look at his bio, athlete, ghost, and it says, boom, you never know. 18-1 with 12 knockouts. So the man updated his Instagram bio immediately, and it says for business inquiries, contact this person, put his website, etc. But this is the part I want to focus on right there. This, I respect the heck out of this. Frank Martin lost. I mean, the world knows he lost if you ordered the fight like I did. Tank had a great performance, was walking him down, putting pressure on, making him uncomfortable. Frank Martin, valiant effort, but it wasn't good enough. He comes back after the loss and said, head high, can't let your wins get to your head and your losses get to your heart. I'll be back better than ever. And you see my dude, Cannon Briggs. My guy, you the champ. Let's go, champ. Right? So he put this picture from the Tank fight, and he said you can't let your wins get to your head and your losses get to your heart. I love this energy from Frank Martin. He also posted this. He said, I'm forever a stand-up ninja. Now, for me, I think this is important for a few reasons. One, because boxing is a gentleman's sport. Tank Davis literally said post-fight, he don't really have no real issues with Frank Martin. He said, yeah, we can link up. You know, it's a business. So he was selling the fight. And before the fight, they were sworn enemies because of that. Because he said, and Tank told you this, he said he's in the way of, he's a stepping stone, you know, in the way of what I'm trying to do. So I'm sure Frank Martin felt the same way. They got in there, squabbled, handled it like men. One person won. That was Gervonta Davis. There can be only one. And Frank Martin, you've seen how he played it. Post-fight, he did a post-fight conference. Sometimes when people get knocked out like that, there is no post-fight conference. They don't want to talk to the fans. Like they hurry and scurry out the ring and stuff like that. Frank Martin made himself available. He said he was cool, made himself available, did the post-fight press conferences. He made no excuses, said Tank was the better man. Tank, you know, is smart with his setups and what went wrong. And he even said, he was just real humble. He even said something to the effect of like, Frank Martin said something to the effect of, I probably lost some fans with my promotion. But to be honest, I think he was being a little bit hard on himself because he performed as well as he could. I don't think he lost fans, especially how he's handling it. Another thing that I'd be remiss to do this video talking about people in and around lightweight division and not make this point. You look at how Frank Martin is embracing just everything that went on in his fight versus like a Devin Haney, right? And I know some people are gonna say, oh, but Ryan cheated and stuff like that. But there was a point before anybody knew of the Osterine and Devin Haney took his his record. So I'm talking about before the positive Osterine test. So nobody knew that Ryan, because remember that didn't come out for weeks during the Canelo Munguia fight week, which was like the first week of May, right? Nobody even knew Ryan had tested positive at that point. And you can find this on the internet. Devin Haney at that point. So mind you, I'm not talking about the Osterine. Before the Osterine, Devin Haney took his record out of his bio right after he lost, because at that time the no contest hadn't come about, the positive Osterine test hadn't come about. Versus you look at Frank Martin, like I just showed you, and he immediately kept it real, and updated his bio to his current record, showing the loss to Tank. And I know that has to hurt, and I know it has to be a pride thing for a lot of people to, to update your record and show like, oh, I'm no longer undefeated professional and I lost, et cetera, et cetera. But it's the right thing to do, because it would be cap, it would be a lie to act like you didn't just lose in that fashion. So I respect this. I respect this a lot from Frank Martin. Again, I think his game plan was off, but it is what it is. I've already broke down the fight. I think he made some mistakes in there, and you could chalk it up to inexperience, and it's just a big moment. Plus, Tank Davis is just a seasoned vet. Like, he's going to be hard for anybody to beat, especially this focus level of Tank that we're seeing that is definitely more mature and things of that nature. So Tank is just a handful. There's no shame losing to him. He's one of the best fighters in the world. But I really like how Frank Martin is moving with this, with this loss. It gives me hope when I see a fighter who takes a bad loss like Frank Martin did, and they're being decent about it. And they're not like, they're just overall being reasonable, because that's a hard thing to do. I know a lot of fighters, and I'm not going to say a bunch of names, but I know fighters personally, and they take loss, they're in denial. They're like, nah, I really won the fight, and everybody's saying you lost and things like that. So for Frank Martin, Tank also had a vicious knockout, so there's no way that Frank Martin could, make any excuses per se, but you never know, because we still seen that. We've seen guys who have been knocked out, and they're still kind of delusional about what occurred. And they're like, nah, I was like, even Rolly. When Rolly got knocked out by Gervonta Davis, he said Tank's weak. Tank don't hit that hard. He said, I was beating Tank. I want a rematch and things like that. So Rolly, the way he embraced his loss was not the same as Frank Martin. Frank Martin went out there, prepared the best way he could. The weight cut looked a bit rough. He performed as good as he could, and he moves on. So I just wanted to make this video, and I really felt like this video was gonna fall by the wayside with all the workload that I got. I'm one person. If you guys like the videos that I'm making, I'm the best in the business, and it's not even close. Just subscribe to the channel, hit the like button if you gain any value from any of my content. But I had to make sure I did this video, because I don't want to. One thing I've been exceptional with in my 10 plus years of covering boxing is I don't like to just talk about the negative. This ain't TMZ. This ain't EMZ, right? So I don't want to just talk about problems in boxing, which boxing, trust me, has its fair share of problems. And then when I see something like what I've depicted in this video, and then I don't even cover it, and I don't make the time for it. So I gotta give props to Frank Martin for overall taking the Tank fight, giving us a fun fight, showing up and, acquitting himself like a true champion. And it really gives me hope that Frank Martin can be a champion even after that. I don't know if he's gonna stay at lightweight. I don't know if he's gonna move up to 140, but he definitely has the attitude of a real fighter and a real champion. Just how he's taking everything on the chin and taking everything in stride. It's kind of funny that his promoter is Errol Spence Jr., who also kind of did the same thing. Didn't make a bunch of excuses when he lost to Terrence Crawford. He just pulled up, tried, lost. He lived to fight another day and, looked to get back in the mix. That's what I'm saying from Frank Martin, and I do respect that. So, again, for the umpteenth time, I had to make this video and not forget, which, you know, when boxing news comes out, sometimes when you have stuff that you don't get to promptly, then there'll be some new news that comes out and it'll just, older topics get pushed back to the side. So I wanted to make sure that didn't happen for Frank Martin. I definitely respect him. I respect his motion. And Tank even said it. He said, Frank Martin could be he said this before the fight, before he even faced him. He said, Frank Martin will be a champion. He could be a champion, just not on the night we fight. And I think that's true. Again, he just seems mentally strong. He said, I'm solid. You know, I'm solid as they come. Update his bio. This is what you love to see. Gentleman sport, boxing. Baby.